Deshaun Foster is hired as UCLA's football coach, but did the Bruins act too hasty? Shohei Ohtani wanted to take it easy, so he hit 10 home runs in Dodgers batting practice, and Spencer Dinwiddie comes home to dad. Good morning, I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. So it is February 13th, 2024. We have added new subscribers to the Angeleno Familia yesterday. I believe there are UCLA fans dying to finally hear something about their team. And I appreciate you getting in on the ground floor. We're going to do our best to keep you informed. Do you like being in the know about LA sports? Well, if you do, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It lets you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist, and by all means comment. I try to get back to each and every one of you when you do. Now, before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. Minnesota 121, Clippers 100? What? Okay, I'm a little surprised. Paul George led the Clippers with 18 points. I'm guessing they're just going to burn the game tape and go on. Meanwhile, today, Detroit is at the Lakers at 7:30 tonight, and the Kings are at Buffalo at 4. So, let's get to the news. As we reported yesterday, UCLA hired former running back Deshaun Foster as its head coach on Monday morning, replacing the necklace wonder that was Chip Kelly. ESPN reports that Foster's contract is for 5 years. He gets this after spending less than 2 weeks as the running backs coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. So, players had lobbied with the athletic department to pursue Foster, and this absolutely matters for a number of reasons. One, spring practice is about a month away. So Foster's first task is to try to keep as much of the roster intact as possible. Make no mistake, the timing of Kelly's departure was a middle finger to the Bruins. Why? We don't know, which we'll get to a little bit later. Perhaps Kelly did hear all the rumblings, did see the writing on the wall. For Pete's sakes, there were airplanes flying over the Rose Bowl asking Kelly to get fired. So maybe he just wanted to screw UCLA one final time. The later Kelly leaves, the more disruptive it would theoretically become to the Bruins football program. So this hire is to settle the nerves of the players before they consider bolting. And therefore UCLA would be scrambling to put any players on the field against the Big Ten competition. Now, a source told ESPN that the hire absolutely resonated with the players. Ecstatic was the word. So Foster has to hold the line while simultaneously building a coaching staff. The LA Times said that the coaching staff is mostly intact. I don't buy that because by my count, there could be as many as 7 openings on the Bruins staff. Remember, a number of coaches left the program in January, which was confusing, particularly after a bowl win. So those coaches probably had a feeling Kelly was on the outs. I would presume that priority number 1 for Foster is making sure Ethan Garbers is on board. After that, in my opinion, Foster could bide time with the roster that he keeps. He could win games by running the football effectively and with good defense, which means priority number 2 is to keep TJ Harden at running back. Therefore, you add at least 2 very important offensive skill pieces to the puzzle. If there's one thing Foster is known for, it's squeezing production out of running backs. He has gotten a couple of them to the NFL. The Bruins have had consistent 1,000-yard rushers during Foster's tenure as running backs coach at UCLA. As for the defense, well, he's got work to do there as well. But not to keep players as much as it is to build for the future. Because the Bruins are losing 3 edge rushers. That's going to hurt. The big takeaway is this is a feel-good story. I have friends who are Bruins fans. They like the hire, but I'm not confident that this guy is going to succeed. Understand, I remember watching Foster play. So if you're a Bruins fan, you should be happy. I would imagine that this is going to fill seats that Chip Kelly didn't care if they were filled or not. I imagine that this is going to help build an NIL program that doesn't even have $1 million in its coffers. UCLA, other programs around the nation, remember, UCLA is a Power 5 school. Other programs around the nation have 8 figures locked up in their NIL program just to helicopter money to all of their athletes. UCLA is still in the hundreds of thousands, not tens of millions range. But, and this matters, I've been saying, if you remember the 2 times that USC tried to go with younger assistants to lead their program, it was an absolute disaster. Lane Kiffin, too young at that point in his career to be a head coach, fired at an Arizona airport. Steve Sarkisian had to check himself into rehab, for Pete's sakes. Now, I could at least argue that Kiffin was groomed to be a head coach. We don't even know if that's true for Foster. To repeat something from the special report that I filed yesterday, Athletic Director Martin Jarmond is placing a bet here. The Times reported that Jarmond corresponded with more than 20 candidates, had a formal interview with 11. The Athletic even reported that Jarmond flew to Cabo San Lucas over the weekend to chat with PJ Fleck, the Minnesota coach. But he winds up hiring a man who hadn't even served as a coordinator, let alone a head coach. Remember, Jarmond knew that the timing was important. He didn't want players to leave via a transfer portal. So he put a 96-hour deadline on himself to try to find a new head coach. Does that seem a little hasty? The Times drew parallels with the hiring of Carl Durrell 20 years ago. That's because alumni hires sound great to the fans, absolutely. But you're not assured that you're going to get what Jim Harbaugh did with Michigan. You could just as easily get what Scott Frost accomplished, which wasn't anything, with Nebraska. That bet has consequences before a game is even played. Ken Norton Jr., in news that broke yesterday, left the program to join the Washington Commanders as a linebackers coach. Now, I don't have any reason to believe that Norton, who is another UCLA legend from his playing days, I don't have any reason to believe that Norton left in a huff, but you could easily see why he left. You absolutely could. Norton was a defensive coordinator twice in the NFL. But if we're being honest with ourselves, he was lousy at it. He really was. So he comes to Westwood, he makes some waves as a recruiter as well as a coach, and maybe he's sitting there thinking, you know what? Rebuilding my career, going to become a coordinator again one day. But on 2 occasions when Chip Kelly had to find a defensive coordinator, Norton wasn't even seen as a legit candidate. Then Kelly leaves, and you don't hear a single peep about Ken Norton as a potential head coach at UCLA, the school he loves. Norton basically knew that he hit a glass ceiling with the Bruins. And so he winds up getting a job with the NFL coaching linebackers. And by the way, let's not forget, as I mentioned before, when a coach leaves a program, the players get a 30-day transfer portal open to them. 24/7 Sports came out and threw 9 games against the wall to see which ones don't stick. They claim that the most important one is Colin Schlee, the reserve quarterback, who is basically a running threat just to change things up a bit on offense. I don't think that's particularly correct. If Schlee leaves, wouldn't it be because he knows he has no chance to upend or take over for Ethan Garbers? That's, to me, the reason that Schlee would leave. Nothing to do with Kelly. I have one more thing to say about the whole damn thing until we get more news about how Foster builds a program. The 2-year anniversary of this show is Monday of next week. This is the most I've ever talked about UCLA football, and there's a reason for that. I truly believe that Chip Kelly didn't want anyone to know anything about what was going on with the Bruins. Not the LA Times, not the national press, not Bruins bloggers or Bruins fans. He didn't give a bleep. Not a thing. Finding information about USC, holy crap, that's easy as hell. It's a real legit struggle. And I was telling this to Bruins fans who were watching this program. It was a real struggle to find out anything that was going on in the Bruins. Now, I could speculate why, and I think my speculation might be on point, but because it's speculation, I'm not going to share it. I am just going to leave it at this. I am hopeful that this change to add Deshaun Foster means that there's going to be a little bit of transparency, a little bit of openness. The fans want to know about this team. There's a reason that towards the end of Kelly's tenure that UCLA was sometimes drawing fewer than 30,000 fans to the Rose Bowl. This is it. The fans want to care. And hopefully that's one thing that Foster can accomplish simply by being there. So you're pondering the Dodgers offseason and you're wondering to yourself, hey, that's $700 million. That's a lot of money for a guy who just had Tommy John surgery. I know he can't pitch for a year, but can that Shohei Ohtani guy, can he still hit? Ohtani took live batting practice for the first time in spring training and launched 10 of the 21 pitches he faced over the fence. Wow. The two-time MVP told the scribes after the display that his original idea was just to take light little swings, but his elbow felt so good that he went for it. Now keep in mind, the Dodgers start the regular season sooner than the rest of baseball. They have a series against the Slum Diego Padres in South Korea in March. So it's not a fait accompli that Ohtani will be ready for that, but you gotta admit, that looked pretty damn good. Meanwhile, Giants pitcher Logan Webb said the quiet part about the offseason out loud. San Francisco is pissed that Ohtani is in Los Angeles. Giants players even opened a group chat to complain about it. You know, as if they're a bunch of 13-year-old girls gossiping. So, nice to see that the Giants remain mature. CBSSports.com, though, said that the Giants did make a move. They reported that the Giants have signed Jorge Soler, a 3-year deal worth about $42 million. Now, big whoop. But what this does mean is that, once again, the scribes on our idiot scribe rumor tally for the Dodgers were dead wrong. This is the 20th rumor where the scribes are like, oh my God, the Dodgers are going after this guy. Wrong, not true. 20 times wrong this offseason. We're trying to establish how stupid chasing rumors are. The Dodgers were linked to 42 players by the press. 42. Spring training is starting. They've only hit on 8. And by the way, there are 14 names to go. New Lakers point guard Spencer Dinwiddie met the press, and I got to tell you, the change of scenery seems to suit him well. He was very amiable with the scribes, who asked him why he chose LA over Dallas, a team that he used to play for. Quote, the two situations kind of felt like this, right? Let's say you were a kid and you get your ass whooped by the bully. Dallas would have been like your mama, being like, it's okay, baby. Don't worry about it. The Lakers are like your dad. Nah, you better go out there and fight until you win, unquote. You feel me? And I just felt like that's what I needed at this time. And I'm a big believer in kind of doing what you need to do at whatever time it is. And so that's how I felt about it, unquote. Now, another reason Dinwiddie came, I believe, is he's on really good terms with at least 4 of his new Laker teammates, Taurean Prince, D'Angelo Russell, Rui Hachimura, Christian Wood. You might be able to say another reason was money, but I doubt it. Dallas could only offer him the league minimum, which for a professional athlete ain't much. But we got to be real here. The Lakers could only offer $1.3 million, which again, for a professional athlete ain't much. Before Dinwiddie had signed, by the way, the belief was he would serve as a backup to D'Angelo Russell, but Dinwiddie hasn't been a backup often in his career. So Darwin Ham is saying that he is considering a 3-guard lineup to make sure Dinwiddie gets on the court. GM Rob Pelinka said the medical staff gave him an optimistic update about Jared Vanderbilt, whereas before officials were telling the press off the record they thought Vanderbilt was out for the rest of the season. Pelinka said that they know that there are some tears in the muscles and or ligaments in Vanderbilt's sprained right foot. This foot will be evaluated again in about 3 weeks to find out if surgery is needed. If it is, he is done for the year. MLSsoccer.com is publishing a bunch of articles to try to get you hyped for the season. I'm a soccer guy. I'm easily hyped for that. The latest is picking one homegrown player on each team to keep your eye on, which sounds cool until you realize they chose Jalen Neal for the Galaxy. Now, don't get me wrong, guys. I like Jalen Neal. The young fellow plays for the U.S. men's national team. Started 14 games with the Galaxy last year. Everybody likes him. I like him. Here's the problem. We reported yesterday he's out 2 months with an abdominal injury. So you're saying keep an eye on him. I mean, what are we talking about? Are we talking about watching him do crunches in rehab or something? Right? What that signals to me is maybe the Galaxy's homegrown thing could stand a bit of an upgrade at this time. Now, the same article said much more optimistic stuff. They're much more sanguine about LAFC forward Nathan Ordaz, citing that the 3 goals the dude scored in League's Cup last year. But having said that, LAFC still has a lot of roster building to do, so we don't even know how much time Ordaz is getting on the pitch either. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. We're getting a lot of feedback on UCLA signing Foster. Give me your 2 cents. I'd like to hear it. What do you think about Shohei Ohtani and if he could wind up playing in March in South Korea? Or Dinwiddie with the Lakers? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Corte El Queso production. Take care.